Hi, I'm Amanda Rowan, founder and head coach at the Therapist Development Center. If you're a first-time viewer and looking to pass your social work or MFT licensing exam, or just interested in topics relevant to clinical social work and psychotherapy, you've come to the right place. If you like it, be sure to subscribe for updates. You can also sign up for our complete LMSW, LCSW, and MFT exam prep programs by going to our website at therapistdevelopmentcenter.com or clicking on our logo. Thanks. Today's topic, DSM-V, No More Multiaxial System. The DSM-V was published in 2013. Many social workers went to school learning the DSM-IV TR, and because of this, we still receive coaching questions about the differences between the DSM-IV and the DSM-V. We know, regardless of which DSM you went to school with, picking up the DSM-V can feel daunting. The thought of learning and applying all of the information in the DSM-V to the LCSW exam questions can be overwhelming. But fear not, TDC's got you covered. How am I supposed to memorize the DSM-V? A lot of people wonder. The good news is you aren't. The ASWB does not expect that you have the DSM-V memorized. One of my favorite things about the Therapist Development Center's LCSW and LMSW exam prep programs that help me pass both my exams is that they only give you what you need. While the TDC program gives you everything you need to pass, they also give you nothing you don't. A lot of the programs out there give you way more content than you need, when the actual exam is primarily made up of reasoning-based scenarios. Because of this, exam prep can feel incredibly overwhelming. So rather than having to memorize tedious lists of diagnostic criteria for every diagnosis, which is not how the ASWB will test you, we give you the differentials for the most commonly tested diagnoses. We also include an entire LCSW practice exam dedicated to LCSW practice questions exclusively on DSM-V diagnoses. We do this for the LMSW exam as well. What was the multiaxial system? One of the biggest changes between the DSM-IV and the DSM-V is the removal of the multiaxial system. Prior to the DSM-V, the DSM-IV utilized a multiaxial system of diagnosis. The DSM-III, published in 1980, introduced this system, existing to ensure that the psychological, biological, environmental, and psychosocial factors were all considered when making a mental health diagnosis. This system utilized diagnoses across 5 DSM axes to look at the different impacts and elements of disorders. The 5 axes included 1. The primary diagnosis, 2. Personality disorders and/or mental retardation, 3. Medical and/or neurological problems impacting the individual's psychological concerns, 4. The 9 categories of environmental and psychosocial stressors impacting the client's psychological functioning, such as job loss, romantic separations, or deaths, and 5, a 0 to 100 rating called the Global Assessment of Functioning, or GAF, quantifying the person's overall level of functioning. Why was the multiaxial system removed? The authors of the DSM-V streamlined and simplified the diagnostic process by developing a single-axis system for assessment and diagnosis of mental disorders. Information from the first 4 DSM axes are still taken into consideration, but are not separated as they were in previous editions of the DSM. Namely, the DSM-V has combined axes 1 through 3 into a single axis that accounts for mental and other medical diagnoses. There are no longer distinct categories for mental health diagnoses, medical diagnoses, and personality disorders. Prior to the combined axes, experts argued that there were no fundamental differences between Axis 1 and Axis 2 diagnoses. Because of this, they believed separating them could lead to confusion and lack of adequate treatment. Contributing stressors that were previously accounted for on the 4th DSM axis are now taken into account through a broadened set of V and Z codes that clinicians can use to indicate additional areas of concern that could be impacting diagnosis and treatment, or that could require further clinical attention. The fifth DSM axis had long been criticized for lack of reliability and consistency amongst clinicians. It was because of this lack of reliability, as well as poor clinical utility, that the APA chose to remove this measure from the DSM-5. Moving forward, the APA recommends clinicians find alternate ways to document an individual's distress and impaired functioning. How will this impact client work? The long-term impact of these changes is yet to be seen, but will surely reveal itself over time. What are the possible impacts these changes may have? Well, it has been noted that removing the distinction of personality disorders from their own axis may help remove some of the stigma previously associated with these diagnoses. Experts cite both benefits and drawbacks to combining medical and mental health diagnoses. Possible benefits include decreased stigmatization of mental health disorders because a single axis system points towards a shared biological basis for both mental health and medical conditions. The previous distinction between mental health and medical disorders led to unequal health care coverage for mental health treatment. Removing this division could prove helpful in equal coverage being provided for mental health conditions. In terms of drawbacks, having a view of mental health disorders being rooted in biology could suggest those with mental health disorders are flawed biologically. Some argue this view could result in lessening of the consideration of environmental factors on mental health conditions. Further, some say it could lead to an increased use of psychopharmacological to treat mental health disorders. Note for the test takers. Will the multiaxial system show up on my exam? It will not. Neither our LCSW practice exam questions nor the test itself will include anything from the DSM-IV. So because of this, you won't see the multiaxial system show up. The exam only reflects material from the DSM-V. Are you ready for the DSM-V? Whether you went to school learning the DSM-IV, the DSM-IV-TR, or the DSM-V, TDC thoroughly prepares you so you're ready for both the content and structure of the DSM questions on your ASWB exams. With over 700 LCSW practice questions in the clinical program and 600 in the LMSW program, you will learn everything you need to know to pass your exam with confidence. If you're struggling to understand a question or rationale, you can email your TDC coach, who will get back to you with a personalized response to ensure you are ready to pass.
Thank you so much for listening. Remember, if you're studying for your exam and looking for the best LMSW, LCSW, or MFT exam prep, please visit our website at therapistdevelopmentcenter.com to sign up. With a 95% pass rate, we offer the best study system on the market to help you pass your exam with confidence. Here at TDC, we're with you until you pass.